We're talking about angle of elevation and angle of depression, and we want to solve problems involving angles of elevation and depression, and we want to use angles of elevation and depression to find the distance between two objects. So first we want to talk about what is an angle of elevation and what is an angle of depression. So an angle of elevation is the angle formed by a horizontal line and a person's line of sight when they look up at an object. So in this case, we have a horizontal line, which would be represented by A, because we're talking about this angle right here. So this is going to be side adjacent. We should know that we have, this triangle, we can decide where it happens, but it's going to make a 90 degree triangle, because we can make this 90 degrees anywhere, but we'll go straight down from the point where our line of sight hits. And that's going to make a 90 degree triangle right there. So our 90 degree angle is right there, as created as we drop a line straight down till we meet the horizontal line from where we are looking. And that tells us that this, which is our line of sight, is the hypotenuse. And so if this is the angle that we're talking about, if this is angle theta, or the angle of elevation is right here, and that's adjacent hypotenuse, that means that this side from the top of the lighthouse down to the horizontal line, that is going to be opposite. So that is the angle of elevation. Then we have the angle of depression, is kind of the other way. So the angle of depression is formed by a horizontal line and a person's line of sight when they look down at an object. So here's the horizontal line, here's the person's line of sight, and we want to turn this into a right triangle. And the way that we turn this into a right triangle is if we're up at the lighthouse looking down at the ship, whatever point on the ship we're looking at, we want to draw a straight line directly up, and that will tell us that that is a 90 degree angle. So if that's a 90 degree angle, then we can create our right triangle, and we can identify our hypotenuse and all the other parts. So opposite the 90 degree angle, our line of sight, that is our hypotenuse. Now we're talking about this angle here, or the angle of depression. So that's theta. And so our adjacent side is the side that touches the angle, so this has to be adjacent. And then our side that is opposite is opposite. So now we have all of our parts measured. The next part talks about the angle of depression, and that is from the top of the lighthouse to the boat. So that's the angle of depression right there. We can also have an angle of elevation, and the angle of elevation is from the boat up to the lighthouse. Now, one thing that we know about these two horizontal lines is they are parallel. So these lines are parallel. So we have two parallel lines cut by a transversal. So that means that our angle of elevation and our angle of depression are congruent. So angle of elevation is congruent to our angle of depression. And the reason that we can say that is by alternate interior angles.